In this video, we're going to show you some of the tools that it takes to be an auto appraiser. So if you consider becoming an independent auto appraiser, there are some tools you're going to need, but luckily for you, it's really not that many tools. You just need some basic tools. Now, if you get into property, that does take quite a bit more tools, and but we're not going to go over those in this video. So let's get started. First thing, this is a dent stick, and it's magnetized on the back, and you can pull that up like if this was metal. You clip it on there and stick that down, just kind of help hold it in place. And that has to be steel. Now, with a lot of the cars, they've got aluminum panels. Of course, that's not going to help. But if it is steel, that'll help hold it in place. This is a dent stick, they call it, and it goes up to 48 inches. This is good for anything up to 4 foot. This is something you use on a daily basis. It works on most jobs, but sometimes there are jobs that are more than 4 foot. Let's say you're working on heavy equipment. Well, the damage may be up here and this dent stick is down to here. So for that, there's another measurement device here. And this is not specifically made for auto appraisal. I believe this was it's for surveying or something, but it works great if you're working on RVs, semi trucks, trailers, things that have higher damage, even a rollover. You know, that's going to be over 4 foot in the air, like on a G. But the way this works, it extends out. And this will actually go to 9 foot. So you could measure up to 9 foot. So you can measure just about anything to height. You probably measure wheelbase with this. So if you're going to kind of doing like RVs or heavy equipment, I recommend getting one of these. And I'll put a link down in the description to give you more information about all these tools. Yeah, this flaps up. They take you up about the same amount of room. So yeah, I just keep those in my, you got a car, I put it in the trunk, or I'll put it in just behind my back seat with my pickup. And they also make a Keeson pocket rod. This comes in real handy because the numbers are big on it, and you can read them for a photo. However, keep in mind there are some carriers. Whenever you look at the guidelines, they will specify what measurement device they want. So I would have both. But this works real good, and this will come all the way out, and this will make us up to 6 foot. So you can just put it up this panel, get back, set back, take the picture, and then you just put this right back in. So yeah, I use this quite often too. And then you're just gonna need a regular tape measure. I like the Fat Max, because they do got a little bit bigger numbers where you can read them in a photo. And when you're going to need this, there's a lot of time on your pickup beds. The VIN will tell you a lot of things, but a lot of times it won't give you how long is the pickup bed. Where you're going to need that, you have to replace a bedside. What size is it? And sometimes you will have to manually select that size. So on pickups, I always get a measurement of beds, not just like short beds and long beds anymore like it used to be. I mean, there's multiple sizes. So I just get this out. I take a picture of it. That way I had recorded, what length the bed was. Also for your wheelbase, you can measure your wheelbase with that. Or let's say you've got a pickup truck that has a flatbed on it, and there is some damage to that, where you can get the, what measurements you need, the length, the width, and you'll have all that recorded and have it in your photos. Next thing you're going to need is a tire gauge. Now, they've got those real cheap ones. They don't take the best photos because they're just hard to read. I never liked those, but when I started out, I got a digital one because you can read those real easy. But there's a couple of problems of why I don't like this one. Like to right now, I haven't used it. It's dead. You got to worry about the batteries dying on you, and then you get out there, maybe you're 2 hours away, and then you can't measure it because the battery's dead. But that's the main reason I don't like this, because these can get knocked out of alignment. And if it does, you have to remember to recalibrate it and, zero it out. And if you forget to do that and you're trying to measure your tread depth on your tires, you're going to get inaccurate readings. So I really didn't like that one. Although it does take good pictures, it'll have big numbers on here that you can take photos of. But the one that I prefer, this is made by Safelite. And it reads manually, takes good photos, but very easy to use, and it doesn't have to be calibrated. So I would stick that in the tread depth, And whenever I go back to get a picture, it takes a really good photo. It measures from 1/32 up to 13/30 seconds, which is basically a new tire. Yeah, most carriers are going to want photos of those, and the reason they want that is they want to know what that tread depth is. You know, how much tread's left, how much is remaining, and the reason they want that is if it does end up totaling, which a lot of them do, a lot more than you think, they will have that measurement. And let's say there was, half of it was left, half like remaining. Well, they're going to deduct that from, being a new tire. So is it going to be average or whatever? But let's say it did read, a new tire, 13 plus 30 seconds on there. Well, on that valuation, they can mark it to like new tire and they can account for that. The next must-have tool is a reflector board. And this folds up real nice, real small, easy to store. It's even got a case that goes around it. But when you're ready to use it, you just open it up like that. And this really helps identify. You can use it on bigger dents to show the amount of damage that's there that you might not see. It shows some of the indirect damage that wouldn't normally see. But what this is really designed for is for smaller dents, like hail damage. You really need to, most carriers will specify that you have something like this whenever you take your photos, so that whenever you take your photos, you can see the dents. So this is a real good tool to have, not that expensive, and again, just folds up real nice and neat. And I'll show you a little example of how this works. Okay, this truck, and it's dirty, and that's the way they're going to be in the field sometimes. You look at it and you really don't see nothing. What this does is you kind of read these lines in here. So you'll read and see where those look different at. So let's move around with this. And I don't know if you can see this on camera, but now I can see those dents. Can't really hold this, and let me mark. Okay, now when you're looking at it, you can see those dents because you see where that line in the reflection board changes. It gets narrow and more wide. But anyway, without this, you would not be able to see any of these dents. Now, if they're really big dents, you might just be able to see the bigger ones, but there's a lot of smaller ones that you're going to miss. Take that away and you can't see them. So yeah, you're definitely going to need one of those whenever it's hail season time. And this is something that you will need. You can't really schedule when it rains, when it's not. You might be an hour away. Well, you're not going to drive back, just because it's raining or whatever, but have a raincoat in your vehicle. Also, you're going to need some rain boots. You need to be prepared with this. These come in real handy. I know one time I had to inspect a combine. It caught on fire, so it was still in the field, and it, in the middle of the cornfield, and it rained. It was muddy. So, have something like that. You can, tuck your pants in, and that way it keeps from getting all muddy and dirty. So I'll get a pair of those to keep in my car. Another thing I'd recommend having, that you don't have to have one of these, but this is a filler detector. This is real old. I've had it for years. In fact, as it seemed when this came out as a new product. And you just put it up to the panel and you push the button, let you know if there's any body filler there. This may be more important if you're working or if you're appraising like classic cars. That way you'll know how much body fill is there, if any. It'll give you, whether it's good. It has 1/16 inch, 1/8, 3/16, or a quarter or more. So this is a really good tool to have. Just, let's say you're having to work on a panel. That way you'll know, are you getting into something that's already being worked on, things like that. So I would recommend having one of those. You could probably get by without it as being an appraiser, but I like that. And another thing is a camera. Now I like to have not a big, huge camera, just a small and compact. This can fit in my pocket. Whenever I start it, it opens up, so that's protected whenever it closes. Automatically, you don't have to worry about putting the lid, taking it on and off. And it does zoom in and zooms out. So if you're needing to zoom in on something, it's got that. And it's real small. Take your photos. And it's automatic. I have everything set on auto. I'll give you an up close of it. This is a Canon Power Shot. Was it GLPH 180? It's worked great for auto appraising. I also use this on property too, and it has worked good. But I'll explain why I really like this one. That's what the front, this side looks like. Is a lot of adjusters will take photos with their phone, and that's fine. But you know, you got them stored on your phone, and then you got to get them on a computer, and then, you know, I like just taking this out, sticking it in my computer, and it's like these are on my computer now. And I'll go in on this drive here, you know, on this disk, and I will relabel and organize them. I keep all my photos right here. They're never on my computer taking up space, or not my phone taking up space. So that's really the main reason I like having one of these. Again, that's optional. You know, some of these carrier or firm apps, you know, have things for your apps for your phone where you can upload them there, but maybe I'm a little old school there. I do like to have this camera. That's what works best for me. And again, you know, I can just stick this in my pocket. You also need to have a step ladder, and I use this, you know, I'm short, so when I'm looking at roofs, I'll need to get up there and look at it, especially for handle damage when I'm going around. I'll have to use this, you know, all SUVs to get up there and inspect the roofs and take my photos. I also have a 6-foot step ladder. May not necessarily need that unless you're doing heavy equipment, but yes, you'll need to do that, especially when doing hail damage. And then again, I might be a little bit old school, but I like to carry my assignments, you know, a hard copy. So I'll put my assignments, it's got 3 different areas. I'll put my assignments in here, and then the ones I've completed for the day will go right here, and then the ones I'm working on will be clicked up front. If you do everything all digital, you may not need one of these. And the last thing I'm gonna go over is just arrows. I mean, very simple, but a lot of carriers will say, you know, they want arrows pointing at the damage. And these are magnetic, so if it's a steel panel, you can just put it on there, take your picture. If it's not, if it's aluminum, you know, you may have to hold it on there and take your photo. You know, sometimes I will point at it, but some of them specifically say that they want arrows pointing at the damage. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it helps. And if you're considering a career in independent adjuster, appraiser, you know, it's a good field to get into. It does keep you busy. There's always a storm somewhere. I never got into the catastrophic side of it, but just being a daily adjuster in my local area, it's kept me real busy. Anyway, I thank you for watching this. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Take care, and we'll see you in the next video.